Hello, my name is Salvi Mukabumwe and I'm from Rwanda.
And my name is Mateos Chekol, and I'm from Ethiopia. I guess our topic is China and China's involvement in Africa. As many of us know, that China has been significantly investing in Africa. And I didn't know too much about it, I think, until I went back to Ethiopia about 4 years ago. And when I went back, what was shocking to me was to see the number of Chinese workers in Ethiopia, especially in the capital, Addis Ababa.
It's the same thing that I actually did see in Rwanda as well when I was there. You do have these Chinese migrant labor workers that come in and they do the dirty work. You see, they dig holes, they put electricity in there, they do all kinds of jobs that actual Africans would be doing, but instead you see migrant workers doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's important in addressing this question is, is it more of a China trying to provide employment opportunity for its population, which is massive, as we know, or is it a two-way cost and, I guess, benefit? And in looking at that, I think China has done some great things, but as well as some things that people would say are quite negative.
Okay. Some of the negatives that people have talked about is that actually some of these Chinese workers that come are prisoners from China, and this is part of their parole and some part of their indentured servitude, where they come to Africa and serve about a year or 2 years and do the dirty work under some Chinese contract or company.
One positive thing that I think I can mention would be a lot of things I've heard are a lot of the Chinese have been able to integrate really well into the society. I have a friend who I met there said there was a Chinese labor worker who married an Ethiopian, has settled there, opened up a shop, and is integrating to the society. And hopefully what this would do is encourage a lot of the Ethiopians to want to compete against the Chinese and also acquire skills to be able to do well in the global market.
And another good thing as well that came out of it is that most European companies, when they invest in Africa, they want to put conditions on the loans, on the money that they give. However, these Chinese, they put no conditions and they come in, they do the work, and you see actually sustainable development happening right then and there.
Yeah, I think, it's hard to discount the role China's been playing, but I think probably the most negative aspect of that involvement happened in the Darfur area of Sudan, in which many people noticed a lot of American, Canadian, and European companies, in protest of what the Sudanese government was doing, decided to leave the Darfur area. But it was highly noticeable that the Chinese government decided to stay there, and not only stay there, but when some of the rebels actually disrupted some of the refinery areas, the Chinese government put out a statement saying something like, well, if they're going to kill 100 engineers, we have 200 more to send. And so it's quite alarming for a country to be able to not acknowledge the issue that's going around in a country that they're investing in, and really be open-minded to what the country is trying to do in their reform and human rights.
And you might also wonder why Chinese in Africa, what are they doing there?
Well, one of the metaphors my father used to use in describing China's role, specifically in Ethiopia and I guess throughout Africa, would be, he would say, what China is doing right now in this time period is planting seeds in Africa. What it's doing in its infrastructure investment, and investing in oil refineries and sending out scouts to look for oil and other natural resources, is actually a method of planting seeds, so that in the future, if the country does start to develop, China will be right there in cultivating the seeds that have been sowed. And I think that's one important aspect for at least the West and the U.S. to really recognize, because if the U.S. has a diminishing role in Africa and its spread of influence, China is going to be having a lot of the influence, and I think this could be very crucial in the world stage and China's ultimate development.
I guess ultimately what we have to see is the Chinese presence a good thing for Africa or is it not? Personally, I believe that given the situation where you have European powers or American powers in Africa trying to influence every aspect of life in Africa, and compared to that of the Chinese, where they're at least hands-on and they come and they do what they came to do. I would rather have the Chinese. At least there's visible effects of what they are doing and positive things that come out of it, such as infrastructure.
Yeah, I think I would actually have to agree with what you said about, ultimately what we have to decide is this. Is Africa going to wait around for the West and the U.S. to come and develop? Or are they going to take, China and hand value and say, hey, if you're willing to develop and help us out economically, why not? We'll give you access to our resources. And so as much as everyone wants to have it be democratic, have it be in accord with human rights issues, I think ultimately you have to look at it and say China is investing a tremendous amount of money in the continent, and no matter the motive or what the intentions are, I think what's happening in the ground right now is that China, more than a lot of the Western countries, is actively participating in bringing a lot of this country up to speed in terms of economic development. And I think Africa is, as people mentioned, the next frontier. I mean, there's still a vast amount of resources that are untapped, and I think if you take Angola, for instance, about 10 years ago, its development then and then compared to its development now, it's very different. I mean, especially after the oil, finding oil in Angola, they've been able to develop very, very quickly, which can lead hopefully to more of political development, and hopefully through reform, they'll be able to benefit from the fruits of these resources. But I think at the end of the day, what we have to do is appreciate some of the things that China is doing, but also look at it and say, hopefully there's a balance of goodwill and good investment. But I think I would agree at the end to say that China's involvement so far has been helpful for Africa.